Hello folks, Reloading Bench back with you once again, and we've got a bunch of stuff on the bench. And all of this is related to what's in this bag as it pertains to my go forward storage strategy shift. As you may or may not have seen recently when I posted some video or a couple videos on storage, stuff I'm doing with small being form factor, not necessarily size. This is 4 terabytes. That's SSD. This also happens to be SSD, but I'm using it for the form factor purposes of this particular video. And this package, as I talked to you recently about, my RAID failure, how it's great to have redundant disks, but if you can't get to the disks because the chassis has failed, then what good is having redundant disks with a failed chassis, failed power supply, or backplane, or whatever. So that takes us to this particular product, the Sabrent USB 3.0 4-bay 2.5-inch drive docking station. And I thought long and hard about this. And then we also have some surprise USB-C to USB-A 3/2.0 adapters. It may or may not be going back because it's hard to tell if what they will, what I need them to be will actually be what they are. So in my RAID video, I talked about this particular strategy of moving to a docking station. And I believe I'm going to go down the path of 2.5-inch both SSD. This happens to be an old SSD, a 250 gig SSD from a mini PC that I use to capture camera video for the house. And I just got tired of deleting, so I actually used this docking station to go from old to new. So I did a hard drive clone and then expanded the C drive to the unused space, and then I popped it in the PC, and it was like business as usual. So this docking style, docking model, docking strategy, whatever you want to call it, I've in the past used it for drive cloning, going from smaller to larger or whatever. Usually a transfer, a complete clone as opposed to, seeing individual drives and doing data transfer. Plus it's big and it's USB, as well as SATA. But it's just big, and I'm not necessarily a fan of its form. How's that? Form factor. But it does the trick when it's needed, and then it gets put away until it's needed again. And with my move to this particular type of model, this is essentially this, only much smaller, more compact, and 4 drives. And again, I said I was going to move to a mirroring state. So assume this is a Seagate Barracuda, multi-terabyte, 4 terabyte, and this is, the equivalent of a 2.5-inch drive. This form factor, SATA, 4 terabytes. So I would do 4 individual mirror sets, manual mirror sets. So I'm not relying on a particular backplane, a particular firmware, a particular software implementation, utility. I'm going to take it down to the bare drive level so that if this were to fail at any one point, the power supply, because that's a single power supply. So what good is RAID, again, if you can't replace the power supply? And I think I got lucky in my 4100 Thecus because I found an old power supply. Try finding a universal power supply or even taking this apart. Probably going to be, a zero possibility. But let's say that this fails. Well, I pull the drive out and I can pop it in here. I can read it. Or I can take a utility like this. I think this is also from Sabrent. I can take this Am I lining that up correctly? I don't want to damage anything. Pop that in, pop it into my computer, and now I can read the drive. Data is accessible. So I'm not relying on a particular vendor's implementation of RAID software, firmware, whatever, enclosure. So this takes it back down to, you know, what I would call a common denominator of just a backplane and power, which is essentially this. And the beauty is this drives power to access whether this is spinning disk or SSD. So that's a win. I've had this around for a long time. So I decided to pick these up because as I was contemplating this, I saw these. And this has to do with the fact that, you know, on a particular hub, and I've shown my hubs before, limited ability to plug in. And for example, you know, that's a no-go. USB-A to USB-C, not going to happen. So, hopefully, and these are little wires. Hopefully, I don't want everything to go all over the floor. I have no idea how this is. Okay, so we've got 4 and 4. And the beauty of these puppies is, and these little holes are for these adapters so that you can couple this. So instead of being just, and this is an old USB 2.x as opposed to 3.x, it's not the blue, but demonstration purposes only. So, you know, if I wanted to plug multiple drives, you know, the equivalent of this, multiple drives into a USB hub that then attaches to a computer, I'm kind of screwed if all I have is USB-C. So this particular device will take USB, make sure I get it plugged in correctly, and allow me to go to USB-C. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And this is like $10, so great business investment. And vice versa. If I've only got a PC that has USB, can't plug in. But wait, there's more. Now I can. Obviously, I'm going to take the speed hit, but if it's about data accessibility, my data is accessible. So for $10 and getting 4 and 4, that's a deal. So that's a score. All right, we're getting to the unveil. Actually, I probably should have dumped these in the bottom. Those little cable thingies are going to be goners. I know that for sure. All right, so that takes care of all my connectivity examples. Let's unbox the Sabrent docking station. And one of the things I saw on other videos, I don't know if this is a push or a pull. Oh, no, it's a open here. Was the fact that the fan, you could turn the fan on and then multiple levels of speed as well as off. And with SSDs, you know, less heat requirement. Spinning disks, yeah, they have heat, but the 2.5 form factor, not so much. Cute presentation, documentation, power supply, USB cable, it's Mongo cable, USA power supply, or rather USA adapter. into a universal power supply, methinks. And now for the unit. And I like the fact that the unit had, I wish it was matte black on the top as well. I like the matte black better than I like the shiny. But even having it on the desk, yeah, like this, is not bad. I wonder what this is. I wonder if those were previous magnets and now they just do the one, or one's enough. Again, I like the presentation where that's 4 and this is 2, and when you look at the space, you know, this takes up probably a third less of the footprint, and it's ergonomically cooler in the sense of both fan cooling as well as looks and style. Yeah, I'm going to guess that was other mirrors other magnets, but maybe not. And maybe it's just how it seats so it locks in. Yeah, maybe, because there's no real need to have anything super strong. And it looks like, okay, we've got to the left, and that's it. Plug it in. You can't F it up because it's keyed. So plug it in. Now that I've said that and not paying attention, plug it in. Power it up and then turn it on. So the beauty being able to turn it on, turn it off as needed, so that it's not always constantly running. But here's my back to my reason for this strategy. This strategy meaning going to just the hard drive access and manual mirroring as opposed to a RAID implementation is, how am I going to replace this power supply? Well, it's this power supply, but if something electronic fails in here for this backplane, how then do I replace that? So going to an external power supply, better, and maybe Thecus should have taken that approach as well, kind of like the Apple G4 Cube. You know, put the power on the outside, so if the power fails, we don't have an issue. So that is that. I mean, that's pretty cool. So I'm going to call this a new storage strategy direction. Win, taking all of the proprietariness in terms of backplane, firmware, software, utility, implementation, vendor specific, vendor anything, taking it back down to just the hard drive. So yeah, do I lose potential security in terms of encryption? I mean, I could always encrypt the drive, encrypt the data. So that can be, again, also universal as opposed to relying on a particular vendor's chassis implementation, meaning you have to have the drive in the chassis using the firmware / software utilities that came with the chassis in order to format, apply utility, permissions, access, all that good stuff. So this was like $90. So we're going to call this $100 after tax. These were $10, but it gave me 8, so roughly $1 a piece, and it allows me to mix and match my my drive connectivity. So that's pretty cool. We're going to call this the Win, and that is it. Now we just need to buy more drives. So time to save up some cash. Later.